Hi there, it's Killian with Guitar.com Live, and I'm joined by Mark Tremonti. You know him obviously from his work in Creed and Alter Bridge and his own solo project, Tremonti. And we're here talking about all things guitar and music. And as we speak, Alter Bridge have just announced a second version of their recent album, Walk the Sky. It's an EP with a new song that's being recorded in lockdown. So why don't you talk about what led to that lockdown song being recorded and written?
Well, when we did the recording sessions for Walk the Sky, we had one song that wasn't quite finished that we liked. But you can only record, you only have so much time to record. So we pulled that song back and finished it up and thought it would be a good song to kind of prep the band to get back out, get back out there after being locked down for so long. It's good to have something to kind of reignite the fire that we had going.
Yeah, because you just finished a tour, didn't you, as this whole thing kicked in?
Yeah. I mean, we were just kind of beginning the touring cycle on this album. You know, it was a shame because this was our first #1 album we've ever had, and everything was on the up and up, and then all of a sudden everything just got derailed. So we're we look at this song and these live tracks as just kind of another reintroduction to this album.
Okay, yeah, because obviously everybody has had to find like a new way of presenting, because I hate to use the word unprecedented, but it is, and especially for musicians. Yeah. So it's also come out with a new video for is it for Native Son as well?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about what sort of inspired you to do that sort of concept for it? Because it's sort of this beautifully animated thing.
Yeah, we love it. We found this artist, and he just, he shoots his scenes where he cuts out all these, these great figures with paper and shoots it in different, he shoots it scene by scene. So it was just a very beautifully done thing he does. So we chased it down for actually the Godspeed video, but it didn't get done in time. We couldn't put it together in time, so we just held it for Native Son, and I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, no, it's really awesome, and it's also one of those things, I guess, like big, video shoots are no longer a thing for the time being and everything. So it's a great way.
And it makes, a band always loves it when you don't have to show up for video shoot day. You just put the video out without any kind of work. So it's that's one perk.
Yeah, I guess finding the positives. That's something actually I think we were talking to PRS about their approach to the sort of looking forwards for 2020 and all their 35th anniversary stuff getting canned, but they were still looking at sort of exciting things going forward from that. So one thing I did want to ask is just as a guitarist in a band with another guitarist, the approach to sort of twin guitar attack is a term that's used all the time, and especially in heavier music. What would you say yours and I guess Miles's philosophy for that sort of two guitar approach is? Because there's loads of different ways of going about it, and obviously in Alter Bridge it's this very specific sound that is your own thing. So do you want to talk a little bit about how that?
We like to keep to our own strengths, and not try to imitate one another. It's Miles and I are very different players, and we bring different things to the table, and I think that's what makes the Alter Bridge sound what it is. So we're not the type of band just to double exactly what the other player's doing. He's when you hear kind of the atmospheric stuff on top of the big heavy rhythms, that's usually Miles. Me, I stick to the kind of the big chunky rhythm stuff, and I hold down the fort while Miles does all the like I said, the pretty atmospheric fairy dust on top of the the rhythm stuff. So and as a lead player, Miles is, I think, far, far better than anybody realizes. He's a great jazz, blues. He's got some of the best vibrato and phrasing I've ever heard. So it's it's still to this day, people are like, wow, I didn't realize he's as good of a guitar player as he is. And he is, he's definitely plays it down. He's an incredible player. So it's I want to keep his strengths doing what he does, keep mine, and just like I said, try to keep them in their own lane. So when we come together, it forms that sound. And we also like to. There's a lot of songs where Miles and I will be playing in different tunings, and we won't realize it until the song's done. I'll say, I was in open G, and he's like, well, I'm playing in, drop D or open E or whatever it is, and we just make it work. So I think that's one part of our recipe is just experimenting as much as you can with alternate tuning, so you have as many different chord voicings that you've never heard before mixed together. That makes it more interesting.
I didn't really consider that because I know that you like your many different tunings.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember seeing something where you're saying about your guitars all have to have the string gauges written on the back of the control plate because just to make sure that each one can be put into certain different things. So so do you consciously sort of bring that idea to the writing of it? Is it something that you sit down together in a room and go, okay, let's hash out some riffs and I'll do this because I'm good at this and you do that? Or do you come sort of more with fully formed ideas and then shoot those out together?
It depends on the situation, but for the most part, it'll be either me or Miles coming with an idea, a musical idea, and then the other player will play on top of it. But you're not saying here's my idea and it's in this tuning. You're just saying here's my idea. The other player plays on top of it. So if Miles plays me a riff, I'm going to see what I can do over it instead of play it exactly like he's doing it. And I could be in a completely different tuning or have a different feel, different way of playing it. And I think that's what makes it. But on the record, we brought in completed ideas. It wasn't usually me and Miles would get together and say, all right, let me see one of your parts. I'm going to take one of my parts and we're going to marry them. This record was pretty much, I wrote about, I put together a batch of demos. Miles put together a batch of demos, and those complete songs we kind of went over day by day in pre-production and put the Alter Bridge spin on and made a record. So that was because we only had a limited amount of time in the studio. So this record was really, the demos were really well done before we got into pre-production because we knew we had to hit the ground running.
Okay. So sort of edging in the direction of gear, then tonally when that comes together, there was obviously a risk of things getting sort of on top of each other if you're doing different things, and some metal tones especially are very large, designed for that huge metal sound, and then that sometimes can just sort of cancel out any sort of clarity, but that's definitely not the case. So how do you go about sort of putting together, thinking about a guitar tone that is going to still sound large but not woolly in a way?
Yeah, we over the years we've been real conscious of that, especially in the live on stage. I have my sound and Miles has his sound. We kind of work around, Miles had to kind of work around my sound because at first, we were kind of a one guitar band until the second record. So by then he kind of had to work around my tone. And right now, for years, Miles has been using diesels. And they just have a different frequency range than what I do. We just try and make sure that what he's doing and what I'm doing fill different frequency ranges and make a bigger wall of sound. My tones are very kind of low-endy, chuggy, percussive. Over the years, I've used so many different amps, but right now, the last tour, I used a PRS Archon mixed with a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier. The Revision Fs are my favorite voicings of the rectifier. So those are my two amps, and he used a Diesel Herbert, I believe. And then he has Peter from Diesel come out all the time, and he'll take some 12AX7s. He'll bring in a box of 12AX7s and just keep popping them in. I was shocked how much of a difference just one tube to the next could sound in his rig. So whenever he came out on tour, he would, he'd be very happy when Peter would come out there and make his tone that much better. And so he's lucky to have Peter dialing in his tone and making sure it's right at all times. But I'm much pickier about gear and amps and stuff. Miles makes, he's been happy with his diesels for, I don't know, 15 years now.
So going off that, I know that one of the things that has made some waves recently is the 100-watt version of your PRS MT15
Yes.
amplifier. And
Mm-hmm.
so is that so that you can bring that MT15 sound into something that will drive a bigger live sound? Or is it just a tonal consideration of you just want to have that different option as well?
Well, the MT15 is my favorite amp. It's like I said about my guitars. I don't push those guitars because it has my name on it. I push it because it's my favorite guitar. It's not, if I could pick my favorite guitar to play, it's still this guitar, and same with the MT15. The MT15 is my favorite amp to plug into when I'm at home. It's a 15-watt amp, but it sounds like a 50-watt amp, but it's, you can get great response out of it at a low volume. The clean tones are amazing. Everything about it. It's hard. It's been hard for me to find an amp that does the big chunky heavy metal, speed metal stuff, and then also has a great lead tone. I won't name names, but there's just some companies that give you brutal rhythm tones when you want, but the lead tone gets harsh. The MT15 has a nice singy lead tone. It's not harsh. Has the exact response I want it to have, and then you can throw down some heavy, muted rhythm stuff that sounds real percussive. Like I said, the clean tones are very, I wanted to go after the Fender Twin. I don't like to have any breakup in my cleans. I like to be very crystal clear. I use my fingers a lot. I'm not a real strummy clean guy. So I wanted to have a lot of headroom and a lot of high-end clarity on it. So that's what we went after. I love that clean tone, but I can't play it on stage because it's only 15 watts. I just started using in-ears, so I could probably work around that these days. But I just want to have, I want to have 200-watt amps on stage whenever I play. I'm a big believer in having 2 amps running at the same time. It's since day one, I've always done that. I just feel like if you get the best out of 2 amps and put them together, they're going to sound better than any 1 amp 2 times over. They bring different qualities. Just like 2 guitar players sitting on opposite sides of the stage making a big full sound, I can kind of do that within my sound with 2 different amps. So I always go for the aggressive, heavy, percussive amp mixed with a more round sounding amp that brings out more singy lead tones.
With that sort of idea of combining sort of clarity and just something very, very aggressive and heavy metal, basically, what's your approach to sort of like driving that? Because a lot of people will achieve that with a tube screamer into something and then sort of get that like very attacky sound that way. But from what I understand, you don't really use pedals to do that. So is it something about like the pickups in your guitar that sort of does that sort of same thing of like driving it a bit harder? Or
yeah, the pickups in my guitar are when we were going through it, the PRS pickups that preceded my guitar were very round blues, blues bass rock, bluesy rock bass kind of pickups. They were kind of round and dark. And so I kept on changing them out, and they gave me the Dragon 2 pickups and and they sent me everything they had. And finally they're like, listen, let's just, let's take 10 pickups, wind them tighter as we go, and then you can kind of plug each one of them, see which one you like the most, and then we can dial it in from there. We got about 4 pickups deep into that process. And I remember I was in an arena. We were doing a show and I was at sound check. I plugged the guitar in so I could hear how it's going to sound on stage. And my sound guy out front was like, that sounds amazing. Let's work with this. And I got on stage. I just had to re-EQ my stuff a little bit. It was a little brighter than what I had going on before. So I just, my settings now on my amplifiers are pretty close to noon on all my EQs and presence, and I like to have, you know, even when I'm dialing in an MT100, I want the sweet spot to be almost at noon, so it's not scooped, or, you know, you don't have to really, with this pickup, you don't have to really do that. It kind of brings it out, even if you just pull an amp out of the box and it's set at noon, it kind of brings out that the qualities I want. But if I would have had my old EQs, it would have been harsh, but I just dialed it back a little bit. Now it's perfect.
Okay, yeah. So I guess that is ideal, because then you have the most room to breathe in terms of whether you need to move things either side. So that approach to just being sent more and more pickups, it sounds like a sort of recurring theme with you and PRS, because I've heard you talk about your first signature guitar came out around because you were just wanting to sort of push PRS in like this direction and that direction, saying, oh, you just wanted to like get something that's just a little bit different, and then it ended up they were just like, okay, screw it, we'll make you a signature. So that sounds like that's happened with those pickups as well. So do you want to talk about like sort of in those early days, because you are one of PRS's like longest standing signature artists, so do you want to talk about like how that sort of whole situation developed?
Yeah, I got a call very early on from Jeff Lanahan, who used to be the artist rep, and he called me up. He said, you know, would you be interested in trying out one of her guitars? And I said, of course. You know, they're some of my favorite guitars ever. They're the kind of guitars that I used to work at a guitar shop, and the PRSs were on the top shelf. Nobody could touch them because they were such nice guitars, and they were expensive at the time, you know, but that was before the SE versions came out. So I was honored. I said, absolutely. They sent me a McCarty, which I have, I think, right here next to me. And it's, you know, one of my favorite guitars ever. I've written so many albums on that guitar. But if I take it on stage, the pickup selector, everything's just not, it's not what I use on stage. So I said, you know, this isn't going to work for me. Do you have anything else that's kind of set up more along the lines of Les Paul setup, you know, with the pickup selector up here and the four knobs, and because that's what I grew up on. So they sent me a Dragon 2 or Dragon, I believe, or not a Dragon. I forget which. The Dragon 2s were the pickups they sent in the next McCarty, and they put this, you know, they gave me a guitar with the pickup selector up top, and it's still, the sound of it wasn't quite right. And just from me being picky, they're like, all right, why don't we just design you a guitar and make it your signature model? And at that time, Carlos Santana was the only other guitar player at PRS that had that. So it was, you know, imagine, I don't know how old I was, 25-year-old kid getting that opportunity. I was beside myself. So, yeah, it was a huge, huge honor. I remember one of the best days in the world was when I opened up the case when they sent the first version of that guitar, and I got to open it up and look at it. And it was, you know, the first couple versions they were trying to be very cognizant of not, you know, just making another single cut guitar that every other company's done. They wanted to make it a PRS style guitar. It wasn't going to be just a Les Paul or this or that. It was going to be a PRS single cut. So the contour, the body itself, and the neck carve, everything had to be just right. So we went through about 6 or 7 prototypes before we got to the final version of it. And that still wasn't the final version. I liked a certain neck carve that didn't go out in the stores first. They put out a different neck carve because they had all their CNC machines and everything at the factory all dialed in for certain necks, and they didn't have that one designed yet, so they had to hand do mine. But every time some other artist played my guitar, they loved it, and so I finally talked them into doing the neck carve the way I liked it, and now it's called the thin wide fat. I forget what it's called, but it's perfect for me. And now every time you buy one of my guitars, it has that neck carve on it. And then over the years, we keep adding any kind of improvements we can, like with the tuners or the aesthetics or anything you can think of that can make it better without changing the essence of the guitar.
Okay, yeah. So you've got a newer one there, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Can we have a quick look at that and just see,
Yeah.
just sort of talk through what's sort of changed, and what's like part of that, as you said, the core essence of it?
Well, this guitar is it's a relic. The PRS doesn't relic guitars at all, and my manager got me a birthday present this year, and he had them relic me a guitar. So this is what I got. So it's just a this is a satin black single cut. It's you know, from the very beginning, these, you know, little things like the pickups look different. The aesthetic of the pickups look different. The tuners are constantly being improved upon, which I like. They're so much better than the original tuners. My bridge is routed out, so you can go in both directions with it. You know, since I was little, I liked putting the bar back and doing the flutters and doing whatever I want with it. So we route this out underneath, but it's, you know, it's just pretty much in essence the same guitar we came out with way back in the day. It's just a couple tweaks here and there. I love it.
Yeah, that is, yeah, it's, as you said, just its own thing for sure. And with the tremolo, is that something you? Because I can't imagine that's, if you're playing in all these different tunings, I can't imagine having a tremolo to sort of worry about is something. So is that something that is you find yourself using more or less recently?
Less. I'm I like fixed bridges more in general nowadays. I like having a bar there, just, you know, sometimes live when you just want to do some exaggerated dive or, you know, grab a harmonic and, you know, do a dime bag kind of thing with it. I like to have it there, but I think in general the tone and playability of the guitars with fixed bridges just feel better for me in general. So if I had to choose for a guitar to have for the rest of my life, it would be a fixed bridge. So that's something that I've been dealing with the PRS folks with too, is make sure that they're just as available as the ones without, you know, with the tremolo on there.
Interesting. Okay, and there's also a guitar that you've been seeing playing, which is a very unique looking one. It's kind of like a offset, maybe an Explorer. It's kind of hard to describe in standard guitar times. It's one that you got one-off custom built. Is that right? The Stella?
There's two of them. Yeah.
Two, okay.
Yeah. One of them's named Stella, and the other one's named the Abomination. So it's,
what happens to the Abomination? Was it?
We have them both. One's black. The Abomination's black, and Stella's brown and black.
Okay.
So I think it was called the Abomination because some of the PRS. I think somebody at PRS might have called it that because it was so different or something. It was just a funny name, so I thought it should stick. But it's one of those guitars that, you know, Paul Reed Smith is such a classy company. You know, everything they've done has been very, very classy. So that guitar is kind of a stretch for them. You know, I think it's much more leans towards more of a heavy metal kind of aesthetic. So I think when people saw that, half of them were, you know, thought it was the baddest, coolest thing in the world. Half of them thought it was crazy. It was scary for, you know, some of them. So maybe one day it will see the light of day, but I've got two more of them being built for me right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'll have four of them. I love it. I think it's one of the best playing guitars I have. If you see us play live, I'm playing that guitar for 4 or 5 songs a night. So it's one of my favorites.
Interesting. I guess that also kind of goes back to that same thing of, it sounds like you're kind of trying to push PRS out of their comfort zone a little bit again with that sort of angular aesthetic, which a lot of them are less. Obviously, they're not known for their spiky guitars. They're very, as you say.
You know, I'm not necessarily trying to push them in any way. I'm just trying to, you know, I have dreams to have this and that, and I just ask them if they can make those dreams come true, you know? So, you know, what's better than having, you know, sitting there with Paul Reed Smith at a dry erase board and drawing a guitar that he will make for you. You know, there's only a few people that have gotten that opportunity, and I'm lucky enough to be one of those people. And it's, you know, it's a dream come true.
So over the recent strange times, let's call them, how have you been keeping yourself sort of occupied? Have you been just writing and playing, or have you been trying to?
All kinds of stuff. First thing I did was painted my house.
Okay.
I'm moving, so I had to paint my entire house. So it's been that was quite a mission. And then I've been writing my next Tremonti record. So I've gotten a lot of work done on that. I've fallen in love with Frank Sinatra, so I've been singing Frank Sinatra around the house every day. I'm addicted right now, and just playing as much guitar as I can. You know, I went for about a month of kind of in a dark mood during this whole COVID thing, and I wasn't really inspired to pick up the guitar that much. That's probably why I painted my house so much, because I didn't have anything else that was inspiring me. So that was just about a month. Then I got back in the guitar pretty heavily. And sometimes it's good to have those thoughts in the back of your mind, like, oh, I really haven't been playing as much, and start getting insecure about your playing, and then come and attack it again. And once you've attacked it, you sometimes you're at a higher level than you were before. So it's sometimes those breaks are good.
Yes, because there was a lot of discussion as it all started to kick off about sort of the two directions a lot of musicians found themselves being pulled in, of just like, this is perfect, I'm at home in my studio all the time, and now it's 2020, you can make a whole record in your bedroom and it can be like a bestseller, so brilliant. And then also people are going like, this is the last thing I want to be doing, is like work right now, or like sort of absorbing yourself into some creative thing, when it's, you know, it is quite a stressful situation for a lot of people. For everybody on the planet, basically. But yeah, so it's interesting speaking to different people. They've had a lot of just completely wildly varying responses to this whole thing. Yeah, interesting that. So if you are feeling uninspired, viewers at home, just paint your house.
Yeah. And then now I'm very inspired. It just took a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because with, you know, everything that was going on, just to come to a halt, it's scary for, you know, for musicians that can't go out and do anything. You know, and who knows when we're going to be able to do it again. You know, we keep on scheduling tours and then canceling tours and scheduling tours, not putting them on sale, but putting getting the buildings ready, getting the promoters on board, and doing all these things, and having to cancel tour after tour until we can actually get out there. So, you know, we hope another tour doesn't go away before we can get back out.
Yeah. It keeps on going, doesn't it? It's, people talk about this year like, oh, it's 2020, but it's, you know, we're getting close to the end of 2020, and as you say, it's like there's not really a sort of a cohesive plan for major tours to start again, or tours of any kind.
Yeah, it's not looking like January's looking very good at the moment. So it's definitely going to go into 2021.
Yeah. Anyway, steering away from the inevitable COVID talk. So can we expect to hear sort of a lot of Frank Sinatra influences on the next Tremonti record then?
Oh, you might. You never know. I might have to start a side project. Do it under an alias.
Well, and sort of what's to surprise people and be like, oh, by the way, that was me.
Yeah, you know, you never know. I'll have to write a Christmas album.
Well, nostalgia works in mysterious ways. I'm not sure that we're quite ready for the sort of mainstream. We've had the mainstream 80s revival, but I don't know when that's happening. The mainstream Frank Sinatra revival. That's
right. It's coming. 2021.
Look forward to Frank Sinatra's secret side project. Mark Tremonti 100-watt amplifier, replica PRS guitar, and many more exciting things, many more exciting firsts, and potentially even and more abominations to come.
I hope so. I hope so. That'd be great. I think people would love it. I love it.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.